I'm coming over here. I have my friend David Walker, and we are in Ardmore. Want to say something? And
hey, how you doing? I'm David Walker, and we're in one of the last video stores, not just in the greater Philadelphia area, state of Pennsylvania, but in the United States. This is a lost tradition, short-lived, and they've got all kinds of interesting stuff.
This is the cult section.
This is the cult movie section right here. We have Damnation Alley, in which Paul Winfield is eaten by radioactive cockroaches. It was a very traumatic experience for me as a child.
See, I wouldn't have even pulled that one. That's all the Blaxploitation. Well, here's all the Blaxploitation. Wait, let me just give the quick pan, and you can tell people, how do you know all these movies? You've seen every one of these films, I'm sure.
I've seen every single one of these movies. I made a documentary about Blaxploitation films 20 years ago. I made this movie. It's called Macked, Hammered, Slaughtered, and Shafted. I interviewed a lot of the people in these movies. So over here there's Dolomite, starring Rudy Ray Moore. I interviewed Rudy. Here's Foxy Brown, starring Pam Grier. I never interviewed Pam Grier till much later, but I got to know her. Great human being. The Mac, starring Max Julian, interviewed him. All kinds of interesting stuff here.
That's not my favorite one.
The Spooky Sat by the Door. Is that the one? It's your favorite one? Because that's my favorite one.
No.
Right there.
Oh, over here. Wait, the
right
lens
here.
is weird.
The Spooky Sat by the Door.
Give us something on that one.
Spooky Sat by the Door, directed by Ivan Dixon, based on the book by Sam Greenlee, about the first black agent in the CIA who leaves the CIA and starts a guerrilla army in Chicago to overthrow the government. Brilliant film. If you're in Greater Pennsylvania or Greater Philadelphia area, come check this out.
Okay, now before I'm gonna pull these, you can talk about these later.
Okay.
All right, but hang on, the bumpy jump cut. No, the one there.
Melinda.
There we go.
That's one of your favorits.
I thought that was stuck out to you.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't even see that it was there, but I love Melinda.
Awesome.
This is Melinda. It's directed by Hugh A. Robertson. I think this is one of his only films that he directed. It's starring Calvin Lockhart. It's one of Calvin Lockhart's only leading roles, and Vanessa McKee, Rosalind Cash. Interesting about this movie is it was independently produced. This is one of the only true all-black films. It wasn't until that it was distributed that white folks came on board. But Purvis Atkins, who was, if I remember correctly, like a pro football player, financed it. Lonnie Elder III, who wrote Sounder, wrote it. And it's just a great film. This just came out on DVD recently. I have it, but I haven't watched the DVD. I had a bootleg VHS that I got on 125th Street in New York, in Harlem. And this is also Rosalind Cash at her best. I love this movie. If you get a chance, you should check this one out.
Okay, now here's one here that when I had the store, I had it in Blaxploitation, but probably doesn't belong there. That Larry Cohen movie that I'm pointing at.
Which one? Bone?
Yeah. Yeah, up above.
Above? Okay. Oh, right here. You know, I would say, I just saw Blue Sunshine for the first time not that long ago. You know, you could consider Bone Blaxploitation, or maybe not. I love this movie too. This is great. This is Yaphet Kotto, Larry Cohen. This was his feature film directorial debut. And this disc, which I believe is out of print, is interesting because they shot a bunch of scenes originally and then they didn't use them. And so you can watch those. And this is Yaphet Kotto at his best. Joyce Van Patten. If I even try to describe the movie, there's too many spoilers involved.
Basically, black guy shows up at a house in LA Malibu.
Affluent white couple's house and takes them hostage. And welcome to Beverly Hills, where upper-class white married couples like Bill and Bernadette enjoy their happy life of wealth and privilege.
I'm trying to bring
I could do Adolf Caesar, but it'll mess up my throat. It'd be but when a violent, unstable black criminal invades their home, each will be forced to explore their own nightmares of lies and desire. And see, now my throat's already scratchy. Okay. So
now your other expertise is Italian westerns. I don't see any here.
And I don't know as much about Italian westerns as I do some of this other stuff. But look at this. You got Russ Meyer section up here. These are all fairly hard to find. I think they're out of print after he died. There was some, I believe there's some sort of crazy stuff with his estate.
Yeah. In England you can get them all, but they're hard to play here.
And here's a couple spaghetti westerns. You got Django, a bunch of the Django movies. The Great Silence by Sergio Corbucci, in the top 10 greatest spaghetti westerns of all time.
So people see the cover.
Okay, so yeah, The Great Silence, starring Klaus Kinski and Jean-Louis Trintignant or something like that. Trintignant, but brilliant film. Actually, they have a lot of great spaghetti westerns on the shelf here. Aside from, you've got Sergio Leone's movies, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West, but then you've got stuff like I said, The Great Silence, Face to Face. This is Sergio Solima's Face to Face with Jean Maria Volante, who is also in For a Few Dollars More. Oh no, excuse me, he was in A Fistful of Dollars, and Thomas Milian. And this was actually remade as another French film in the early 2000s called The Man on the Train, I believe. Most people didn't catch it. It actually was more like it was a ripoff. But so Face to Face.
All right. Well, let's see. Like a Who Sampled up in here.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
And A Bullet for the General. Also, Jean Maria Volante is also in this brilliant film. They made over 600 spaghetti westerns between the mid '60s, early '60s, and like late '70s. But of those 600, there's like 10 that are worth watching, and I think they have about
a lot of American stars like Clint Eastwood here got their start in Italy.
Yeah, really, it transitioned from television into film. So
Bronson and Burt Reynolds also. Did some things.
Burt Reynolds was in a movie called Navajo Joe that was directed by Corbucci, who directed the one I pointed out earlier, The Great Silence. Corbucci also directed Django, starring Franco Nero. There was 20-something Django movies made, but none of them were actual sequels. Italian exploitation filmmakers had a habit of just retitling movies. So if you had a mysterious stranger in a hat with a scruffy beard, they just called them Django.
I'm trying to see. I mean, they have across 110th Street here, and I'm seeing all the 80s New Jack Cities and Out for Justice and... did you have a fondness for all the 80s and 90s action? Or no?
I did have some of them. Some of them I enjoyed quite a bit. And, there was, oh man, I've seen so many of these movies. I realized how much of my life was spent watching movies. I worked in a video store throughout the late 80s and into the early 90s. And so there's a lot of sense of nostalgia here because it's like, there's also some traumas involved too. But
yeah, I feel the same vibe too.
Yeah. But, Juice. Great movie, saw that. Ernest Dickerson's directorial debut right there, starring...
Does he have the gun on the cover? That was very controversial.
Yeah, no gun on the cover, starring Tupac. This was, I think, Tupac's first feature film.
Well, let's see. We can go forever. Is there anything that... do you have any thought about that? I always talk about that set.
Which one? This...
Mondo Conde, Goodbye Uncle Tom.
Oh, jeez.
Are you? I always say everybody should see it.
Well, everybody should see it, but you don't necessarily watch it in mixed company. I mean, it's history, but this is some exploitation stuff at its most exploitative. And I'll watch a lot of the stuff for historical purposes. But the older I get, the more it's like, I don't necessarily, some stuff I don't need to see again. Okay. It's funny because I rewatched some Russ Meyer movies recently. And seeing a Russ Meyer movie in your 20s is very, for lack of a better term, titillating. But you watch them later, and it's like, ooh, this is some straight up, Russ Meyer liked women with the big old breastises. And
yeah, well, the one, Pull Faster Pussycat, that's the best Russ Meyer. We're going to start.
Let's see, where is Faster Pussycat? I see it. I don't see it. Where? Oh, did I? Okay.
You're losing your eyesight.
I am. This is, here we go, Faster Pussycat. Yeah, this is exploitation, but it's not, there's not gratuitous nudity or sex. You watch something like, say, Vixen. Maybe Vixen might not be, but Super Vixens.
And once you got to the 70s, it was all bets were off. Yeah.
Super Vixens. Super Vixens. This is all straight up. It's softcore porn, but it is straight up softcore porn. It's what's interesting about it, and what I love about Russ Meyer, even to this day, even though it's, again, I wouldn't watch it in a mixed company, he was a brilliant photographer and editor. Yeah. But for no matter how you slice it and dice it, it was to make porn. But you've never seen porn that's shot this way or edited this way, and it's kind of brilliant. So
before we get to the closer, see if you can find. I want to look here in these Vinegar Syndromes to see if they have a black film. But if there's one there that you can grab while I'm looking.
Okay. In the Vinegar Syndrome stuff, probably.
I found one here. I know you've seen this.
Actually, I've never seen Death Force.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
Lee Van Cleef, or was it James Englehart?
James Englehart, yeah.
Okay, so we'll let that one go.
Okay.
But Vinegar Syndrome, we're good friends with those guys, so
we could do they did the Welcome Home, Brother Charles, right?
Oh, we could go there.
Yeah.
Well, this is the only store I know that has this.
Oh, I've never seen this, actually.
Hawk Jones.
Hawk Jones, I've never seen this. This is the Lowry brothers. I've seen another one or two of their movies, but yeah, this is sort of like that. It was like sort of like the Bugsy Malone.
All right, here's one we can close up before we get to your expertise.
Okay.
Marky Bay? No.
Oh, Marky Bay is in this. I've never actually seen this movie, but Marky Bay was
go for it.
Yeah, Marky Bay was in movies like Sugar Hill. She was in a movie called Super Dude, which is really rare, and that movie's terrible.
Went to see that together.
Yeah. So, The Roommates.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a rare one.
Yeah, and so this is Vinegar Syndrome. Oh no, this isn't Vinegar Syndrome. This is Gorgon Video.
Gorgon MPI.
Okay.
And this is very hard to find. I'm surprised they have it. This is extremely rare. Follow up to Putney Swope.
Oh, Greaser's Palace, Robert Downey Sr. I mean, Robert Downey was just kind of crazy. This is like impossible to find, this movie right here. Greaser's Palace. I think the only time I saw it was like probably an edited version on like late night cable when I was in 8th grade or something like that. Right, staying up past my bedtime.
Okay, I'm coming out of your house. All right, so we're gonna swing in. You gotta tell us about. All right, so he's putting those away.
I'll just put that there. I don't know where it goes.
Right, this stuff.
Okay. Okay, so here we have 4 Shaft movies. Mm-hmm. These are the first 3, the originals. Gordon Parks Sr. directed 2 of them, and then John Gillerman directed the 3rd, Shaft in Africa, based on the books. 2 of them based on books by Ernest Tidyman. This is the 2000 version of Shaft, directed by John Singleton. I won't wipe my butt with this movie because it would be very uncomfortable, but I would like to wipe my butt with it. These are classics. And I shouldn't be saying negative stuff about this, but I'm going to. But I'm kind of known. I write comic books now, and I've written 2 Shaft graphic novels and a Shaft novel. And so I've been sort of entrusted by the estate of Ernest Tidyman to carry on the character. So he's very near and dear to my heart. As much as I love these movies, I think they're very poor adaptations of the literary character. And, maybe someday I'll get to make a Shaft movie. If I were to do it, I don't know who my actor would be, my actor of choice. Chiwetel Ejiofor, maybe. He might be a little too old right now. But because in the book, Shaft is in his late 20s. Mm-hmm. He's a Vietnam vet and just really messed up. And they left the most interesting things about this character out of the movies.
Now there's a discrepancy. A lot of people haven't read the original stuff. Whenever you talk to Melvin Van Peebles, he claims that Shaft was originally a white character.
And it was not. He never was. That is part of the mythology of Melvin Van Peebles, that he's spun into his narrative, and it's great that he tells it, but no, he was never meant to be a white character.
Okay. So he's written as a black Vietnam vet.
Yes, in the original book, which came out, I believe, in '69 or '70, and then Van Peebles has also claimed that the movie was originally supposed to be a white character, and that was never the case. In fact, Shaft, if I remember correctly, was actually filming in production while Van Peebles was making Sweetback. It's just. It sounds really interesting, and I hate to burst people's bubble, but enough people have been able to dispel that myth. And I actually have I've heard him say in interviews that in the original editions of the Shaft book that Shaft was a white character. I have a first edition print. It was, you know, someone bought it for me as a present. It was a couple $100s, and on the cover it's a black guy. So yeah, he's been black forever.
So there's Sweetback.
And there's Sweetback's Badass Song, which is also an amazing film. But also, what's interesting from a historical standpoint, people talk about how historically important it is because, you know, spoiler alert, Sweetback kills a cop and gets away with it. What people forget is that a year before this movie came out, a movie called The Liberation of L.B. Jones came out, in which Yaphet Kotto's character killed a cop and got away with it. Just a little bit of history, a little bit of trivia.
Full circle.
Yes.
Just we're done. But here, I don't know if you have comment on that. That'd be nice to hear a thought. But this is a book adaptation.
Yep.
Actually, wow. You know how hard it was to find these?
Yeah,
now they're all like
$10. Now all three.
That was a scavenger hunt back in the day to get those movies.
Oh, yeah. I had all three of these on bootleg VHS. Again, got them on 125th Street.
I'll take those. We'll talk about Iceberg and then we can buy them.
Yeah, Iceberg Slim, a.k.a. Robert Beck, ex-con pimp, made a name for himself writing books, including Trick Baby, which was turned into this movie starring Mel Stewart and Kyle Martin. Actually, a really solid film. I think it's kind of underrated.
And filmed in Philadelphia.
Filmed in Philly. Willie Dynamite, also an underrated film. That Man Bolt. That was Tread Williamson's attempt to be James Bond, and he failed. But this is, Willie Dynamite is a fun film. You have to watch Willie Dynamite and understand that it's really a fairy tale, and that it's sort of a parody of the pimp genre.
What is, all right, we're going to, like Superfly, which is here. It's another
Superfly.
pimp movie. Right.
Drug dealer. He even says, he says, what would you do if you gave up hustling, except maybe pimping, and you ain't got the stomach for that? So he was actually a drug dealer.
Okay.
So Mac was a pimp.
But that's our mythology. But they were done by these classically trained actors.
Yes.
They couldn't. This is before they could find real life street type to play these parts.
Ron O'Neal gave a great performance. He was a stage actor. Bit of trivia: he's wearing a hairpiece in this whole movie. He was as bald as I am when he made this movie, and he was into his 30s. This is just a gritty, raw movie. It was shot for like $12, but Curtis Mayfield's soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks of all time, and Carl Lee is great in it. Charles McGregor's great in it. I love this movie. I have it me and Ice-T have it memorized. If we were hanging out, we could probably
the whole thing.
Do it.
And final thoughts, anything you want to say? Tell people how to find out all your reviews and all that good stuff.
A lot of my reviews are not online at the moment, but if you want to know more about me or get in touch with me, you can reach me on my website, which is davidfwalker.com, all one word. And I'm on, Twitter, YouTube, not YouTube, Twitter and Instagram. It's David Walker 1201. Is my Twitter handle.
But you do have all your raw footage from your documentary.
And my documentary is actually up on Vimeo, Macked, Hammered, Slaughtered, and Shafted. It's also up on YouTube, but there's a better quality version on Vimeo. So if you just go to Vimeo, type in Macked, as in to be macked, as in to be pimped, Hammered, as in to hit a hammer, Slaughtered, as in to be killed, or Shafted, which has several meanings. So.
But the Ron O'Neal footage and all the Jim Kelly interviews are
all the interviews. Ron O'Neal, Jim Kelly, Rudy Ray Moore, Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, Roseanne Caton, Gloria Hendry, Oscar Williams. Tons of people that I interviewed for that film.
All online. Well, the full or on YouTube.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.